Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to the Strange History Podcast. I'm your host, Amy, and today we're digging into something hidden under the kilts, beyond the whiskey, and deeper than the Loch Ness Monster's swimming pool. That's right, we're going into the blood. Scottish DNA is strange, not just strange as in, wow, you're 13% Neanderthal and probably shouldn't lick doorknobs. No, I mean strange as in it carries the ghosts of forgotten tribes, the fingerprints of invaders, and genetic quirks that set the Scots apart from almost every other people in the world. It's the kind of DNA that reads like a saga: clans, battles, Viking raids, and even a vanishing people who left behind no written words, but whose genes still haunt modern Scotland. So grab your tartan, pour a dram, and let's talk about why Scottish DNA is so strange.
The Picts, Scotland's ghost people.
Long before bagpipes, Braveheart, and tourist shops selling genuine Loch Ness water in tiny bottles, there were the Picts. The Romans called them Picti, meaning the painted ones, because they supposedly covered themselves in tattoos or blue woad paint before battle. To the Romans, they were terrifying, ferocious tribal warriors who lived north of Hadrian's Wall, a land Rome never managed to fully conquer. While most of Europe was falling neatly under Roman sandals, Scotland was just too wild, too rugged, and too full of people who didn't want to be told what to do. The Picts themselves left no written history. Their language is largely lost, like a ghost tongue whispered through stone carvings and symbols. Archaeologists have uncovered their strange symbol stones: spirals, beasts, mirrors, crescents, but no one really knows what they mean. A code? A clan symbol? A menu for the local tavern? We may never know. For centuries, historians thought the Picts vanished around the 10th century, absorbed by invading Gaels or wiped out. But here's where DNA gets spooky. Modern genetic studies show that the Picts didn't vanish at all. They melted into the gene pool, especially in the Highlands. In fact, modern Highland Scots carry remarkably high traces of Pictish ancestry. Meaning, if you're Scottish, there's a good chance your blood is whispering the secrets of a people who were supposed to have disappeared 1,000 years ago. It's like the Picts pulled the ultimate ghost trick. They vanished from history, but not from the blood.
The Viking storm.
Of course, the Picts didn't get to stay mysterious forever, because then came the Vikings. From the 8th to the 12th centuries, Norway and Denmark had a bit of a problem. Too many sons, not enough farmland. Their solution? Hop in some longships, grab an axe, and see who they could pillage. And Scotland was right in their path. The Northern Islands, Orkney, Shetland, Hebrides, became full-on Viking colonies. The DNA evidence is wild. Men from Orkney today can still trace huge chunks of their Y chromosome back to Scandinavia, in some cases more Viking than Scottish. If you've got a last name like Gunn, MacLeod, or Macaulay, chances are your ancestors were more at home raiding a monastery than herding sheep. But here's the twist. Not all Viking arrivals were bloody. Many settled married locals and blended into clans. The result? A weird, fascinating genetic cocktail where someone in the Highlands might carry both ancient Pictish blood and Viking blood, warrior ancestors on both sides. But here's a chilling legend from Orkney. Locals say some of the Viking chiefs never left. In Bursay, people still talk about a spectral longship that sails silently across the moonlit waters, its oars dripping with phantom spray. Families with heavy Norse DNA often half joke that their ancestors are just keeping an eye on them from the other side. And to be fair, some Scots today who take DNA tests and discover they're half Viking do describe a strange pull, an almost eerie recognition, like the blood remembers the sea even if they've never set foot on a longship.
The Irish connection.
Then there's the Irish twist. Around the 5th and 6th centuries, Gaelic settlers known as the Scoti came from Ireland and founded the kingdom of Dalriada in western Scotland. They brought with them the Gaelic language and culture that would eventually define much of Scottishness. DNA shows just how intertwined the Irish and Scottish are. In fact, modern genetic testing often confuses the two. To the DNA, the Irish Sea was less of a border and more of a convenient ferry ride for your ancestors. If you've ever spat into a tube for one of those ancestry tests and it came back mostly Irish, maybe Scottish, well, welcome to the genetic blur that is Gaelic heritage. There's even an old folk tale that says the Scoti didn't just bring language, they brought magic. Some clans claim their second sight, the famous Scottish gift of prophecy, comes directly from those Gaelic bloodlines. Stories abound of seers in the Hebrides, predicting storms or deaths with eerie accuracy, their gift said to be in the blood.
The English problem.
Now, down in the lowlands, things looked a little different. This region had far more exposure to England and mainland Europe. Invasions, marriages, and migrations brought in Anglo-Saxon, Norman, Flemish, and even French DNA. Some Scottish towns like Edinburgh and Aberdeen saw waves of outsiders settling down, so the lowlands have more of a mixed genetic soup compared to the relative isolation of the Highlands. This is why some Highland clans can show very distinct DNA signatures, while lowlanders often share closer ties to English and even continental ancestry. It's not that one is more Scottish than the other. It's just that Highland isolation kept some of those older, weirder DNA patterns alive, while the lowlands became more of a crossroads. Still, lowland families tell their own haunting DNA stories. Some border clans like the Armstrongs and Elliots were infamous reivers, raiders who lived by blood feud. Descendants today sometimes say violence seems to run in the line, joking but not joking that their ancestors' love of cattle rustling might still thrum in their genes.
Clans. DNA like a family tartan.
Speaking of clans, let's talk about this. Scotland's clan system wasn't just a way to organize society. It shaped DNA in bizarre ways. A clan was basically a giant extended family bound by loyalty to a chief. Members often intermarried within their region, reinforcing certain genetic markers. Today, geneticists can sometimes identify people descended from specific clans because the Y chromosome patterns are so distinct. For example, Clan MacDonald, one of the largest, shows DNA links suggesting descent from Norse Gaelic warlords. Clan Campbell? A genetic melting pot because they married far and wide. Clan Gunn? Heavily Viking. It's like your last name could be a genetic clue to a whole warrior lineage. And thanks to DNA testing, some Scots today are discovering their clan ancestry isn't just symbolic, it's literally written in their blood. And the legends reinforce this. The MacDonalds tell of the Green Lady, a ghost who appears in times of family crisis, always to those of direct blood descent. The MacGregors, banned for centuries by royal decree, passed down their clan identity almost like a genetic memory, whispering the words, Es Riogal Mo Dream, royal is my race, from father to son. Some families even claim that their uncanny resemblance to portraits of long-dead chiefs isn't just heredity. It's a kind of ancestral haunting, the past refusing to let go.
Strange quirks in Scottish DNA.
Now here's where it gets even stranger. Red Hair Nation. Scotland has the world's highest proportion of natural redheads, thanks to the MC1R gene. Scientists think this mutation spread because red hair and pale skin absorb more vitamin D, an evolutionary survival trick in a land where sunshine is rarer than a polite English soccer fan. Highlander resilience. Some genetic studies suggest Highland Scots carry markers for endurance and toughness, traits possibly shaped by centuries of famine, wars, and survival in rough terrain. Rare lineages. In remote areas, some Scottish families preserve ancient DNA signatures so rare they're like time capsules of prehistoric Europe.
The strangeness of it all.
So what makes Scottish DNA strange? It's the contradictions. It's ancient yet mixed, mysterious yet traceable, both fiercely local and globally influenced. It's a DNA that whispers of ghost tribes, roving Vikings, wandering Gaels, and stubborn Highland clans who refused to disappear, even when history said they did. In other words, Scottish DNA isn't just genetics. It's a saga. It's a myth. It's history written in the bloodstream. So next time you see a redhead in a kilt sipping whiskey, just remember, inside their DNA might be a Viking raider, a Pictish warrior, and a Gaelic wanderer, all fighting for space in one stubborn Scottish soul. And that, dear listeners, is the strange story of Scottish DNA. A story not only of science, but of myths, invasions, and whispers from the past. If your family tree has even a single stubborn Scot perched on a branch, then chances are you're carrying a whole saga in your blood. I like to think of it this way. Your DNA is less of a map and more of a ghost story. Every cell in your body remembers something your ancestors endured, whether it was a Viking raid, a Highland march, or a Pictish secret carved into stone. So tonight, when you look in the mirror, ask yourself, who's really looking back? Maybe it's just you, or maybe it's also the painted Pict, the Norse raider, or the red-haired seer whose blood still flows through your veins. Until next time, thank you for joining me here on the Strange History Podcast. Sleep well, my friends, but don't be surprised if your ancestors decide to visit you in your dreams. After all, they're still in there.